Tank Morrison had seen a lot of grief in his 15 years doing memorial tattoos, but he'd never seen a mother carry an urn containing fresh step cat litter instead of her son's ashes. When the brass container slipped from his workbench at 2:17 p.m. and shattered across the tattoo shop floor, revealing gray granules that clumped when Rachel Carter tried desperately to scoop them back, one truth became impossible to ignore. If this wasn't 7-year-old Liam's remains, where was Liam? What happened in the next 4 minutes would mobilize 187 Hells Angels, expose a funeral director who'd given 4 families cat litter instead of their children, and prove that sometimes the most devastating accident reveals the most crucial truth. This is Rachel and Tank's story, and what spilled from that broken urn would save a life everyone believed was already lost. Before we continue, subscribe and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you discovered this truth? Now, back to that moment when everything shattered. I never saw his body. Tank Morrison, 6'4", gray beard, leather vest bearing the Hells Angels patch, had been reaching for his sketch pad when his elbow caught the urn. Now he knelt on the floor of his tattoo shop, watching a woman he'd met 3 minutes ago try to scoop cat litter back into a broken container while sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. He'd seen grief before. Lost his own daughter 18 years ago. Melissa, 4 years old. Leukemia. He'd tattooed her name over his heart the day after her funeral. A reminder that she'd existed, that she'd mattered, that she'd been loved. Since then, he'd done 37 memorial tattoos for grieving families. He knew what cremated human remains looked like, felt like, smelled like. This wasn't it. Rachel, Tank's voice cut through her sobs, gentle but urgent. Stop. Look at me. She didn't look up, just kept scooping, her hands shaking so badly the granules slipped through her fingers. I have to save it. It's all I have of him. Tank grabbed her wrists, firm enough to stop her, gentle enough not to hurt. Rachel, this isn't your son. Her head snapped up. Green eyes, bloodshot from 3 weeks of crying, met his. What? He held up a handful of gray material. Let it sift between his fingers. This is cat litter. Fresh Step brand. I have the same bag at home for my cat. I recognize the texture, the way it clumps, the smell. He picked up a broken piece of the urn, showed her the funeral home label. Brennan and Sons Funeral Home. I've done memorial tattoos for 15 years. I've handled cremated remains dozens of times. Human ash is finer, lighter, smells different. He met her eyes. This is Fresh Step's scoopable cat litter. I'm certain. Rachel stared at the material in his hand. Her face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, horror, desperate hope. No. Her voice barely a whisper. No. That's impossible. They cremated him. Dr. Brennan said, Ma'am. Tank kept his voice steady, calm. If this isn't your son's ashes, where is your son? The question hung in the air between them, heavy, terrible, full of possibility. Rachel's hands went to her mouth. Are you saying Liam might be alive? I'm saying something is very wrong, and we need to find out what. Right now. Rachel looked at the cat litter scattered across the floor. Not Liam. Never was Liam. She'd been carrying cat litter for 2 weeks, talking to it, sleeping with it beside her bed, planning to tattoo Liam's face over her heart while clutching a container of Fresh Step. She looked at Tank, This stranger, this biker, this man covered in tattoos who'd just broken the only thing she had left of her son. Except it hadn't been her son, which meant I never saw his body. The words came out fast now, desperate. They said infection risk, bacterial meningitis. Dr. Morrison. She's a doctor. She'd been practicing 30 years. She said the infection caused deterioration. That I'd want to remember him as he was. That viewing the body would be traumatic. And Dr. Brennan, he handled my husband's funeral 2 years ago when James died in that construction accident. He was so compassionate, so professional. When Liam got sick, and Brennan was the EMT who responded to my 911 call, I thought, her voice broke. I thought God sent him, someone who understood loss, someone I could trust. Tank stood slowly, pulled out his phone. Tell me everything, from the beginning, every detail. Rachel's words tumbled out in a rush. Liam got sick 4 weeks ago, October 14th, Sunday morning. Fever, headache, throwing up. I'm a single mom. I panicked, called 911 at 6:47 a.m. Marcus Brennan responded. He was so calm, so reassuring. Said, I'll take care of your boy, don't worry. Put Liam in the ambulance. I tried to ride with them. Brennan said, no room, hospital protocol, meet us there. I drove to Riverside Hospital. By the time I arrived, Liam was already in ICU. They wouldn't let me see him. Said infection risk. Dr. Morrison came out. Told me bacterial meningitis, very aggressive. We're doing everything we can. She was crying now, but the words kept coming. I waited 3 days. October 17th, Dr. Morrison came out crying, said, I'm so sorry, he didn't make it. I screamed. I collapsed. Security had to carry me out. I never saw Liam's body. They said infection protocol required immediate cremation. I got a text from Brennan 2 hours later saying cremation was done. Done. My baby. Turned to ash in 2 hours. Tank was typing on his phone while she talked. 2 hours? That's what he said. Rachel pulled out her own phone, scrolled to messages. Read aloud. Mrs. Carter, I'm so sorry to inform you that Liam passed this morning. The infection was too aggressive. Dr. Morrison did everything possible. I'm coordinating with hospital now for immediate cremation due to infection protocol. I'll handle all arrangements. She scrolled. Cremation completed. I know this is difficult, but the health department required immediate action. Your son is at peace now. Tank's jaw tightened. You can't cremate a body in 2 hours. It takes permits, paperwork, waiting periods, especially not a child. There are protocols, investigations. He looked at Rachel. This man didn't cremate your son because your son wasn't dead. The shop door opened. A younger man walked in, mid-30s, carrying a laptop bag. He stopped when he saw the scene. Broken urn, cat litter everywhere, Rachel's tear-stained face. Boss? Wire. Tank's voice was tight, controlled. We've got a situation. A funeral director's been giving grieving parents cat litter instead of their children's ashes. I think the children are still alive. Wire's eyes went wide. What? Get hammer? Get preacher? Get track? Every brother within 50 miles. We need them at the shop, now. Tank looked back at Rachel. Ma'am, if your son is alive, we have maybe days to find him before he disappears forever. I need you to tell me everything about this funeral director. Everything about the hospital. Everything you remember. Because we're about to turn this town inside out. Now you might be thinking, a Hell's Angel finds out a child might be alive, and his first move is to help the mother piece together evidence. That's not the story you expected, is it? Maybe you're imagining 200 motorcycles roaring up to a funeral home, chaos, violence, destruction. But that's not how this works. Not anymore. Not with Tank Morrison. Because Tank learned something 18 years ago when his daughter Melissa died in his arms at age 4. Rage doesn't save children. Strategy does. Evidence does. Brothers who know how to work the system do. And Tank had brothers. Wire Sullivan pulled out his laptop, sat down at the consultation table. "Give me the funeral home name." "Brennan and Sons," Rachel said, her voice steadier now. Something to do. Something that wasn't grieving cat litter. 1624 Chapel Street. Wire's fingers flew across the keyboard. "And the doctor who pronounced him?" "Dr. Helen Morrison. Riverside Hospital." Tank pulled up a chair next to Rachel, handed her a bottle of water from the mini-fridge. "Drink, then talk. Tell me about Liam getting sick. Every detail you remember." Rachel took a shaky sip. "He was fine Saturday. Happy. We made pancakes for breakfast. Sunday morning he woke up with a fever. 102 degrees. Headache. Vomiting. I called 911. I don't have medical knowledge. I work 2 jobs just to keep our apartment. I didn't know if it was just flu or something worse." "You did the right thing," Tank said quietly. "Brennan arrived in the ambulance. He was kind. Checked Liam's vitals. Said we'd get him to the hospital, get him checked out. I tried to ride along. Brennan said the ambulance had equipment, no room for me, I should meet them there. So I drove. By the time I got to Riverside, they'd already taken Liam to a room. A nurse stopped me in the hallway, said I couldn't go in. Infection protocol. Dr. Morrison would update me." Wire looked up from his laptop. "Did you ever see Liam again, after they took him into that room?" Rachel's face crumpled. "No. For 3 days I sat in that waiting room. Dr. Morrison came out twice a day with updates. He's fighting. The medication isn't working as well as we hoped. The infection is very aggressive." Then on the 3rd day she came out crying. And I knew. Tank's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. "Hammer's 5 minutes out. Preacher's 10. He looked at Rachel. "When you got the urn, did anything feel wrong?" "Yes." Rachel said it immediately. "It felt too light, and when I—" She stopped, looked embarrassed. "When you what?" "I shook it slightly. Just once. I know that sounds crazy, but I needed to know he was in there, and the texture felt wrong. I called Brennan, asked if these were really Liam's ashes. He said every cremation is unique. Body composition affects the remains. What I'm feeling is normal." She looked at Tank. "I believed him, because he handled James's funeral. Because I trusted him." Wire spun his laptop around, showed them the screen. "Boss, look at this." Tank leaned in. "Read." His expression darkened. "What?" Rachel asked. "Brennan and Sons Funeral Home," Wire said. 4 cremations in the last 3 years. Children ages 5 to 8. All sudden deaths. All cremated within 24 hours. His fingers flew across the keys. "But here's the problem. Crematorium equipment maintenance logs show 0 usage in 3 years. Rachel's hand went to her mouth. Wire pulled up another screen. Gas and electric bills. Cremation requires sustained high heat for 2 to 3 hours. Should show massive spikes on utility bills. "Look," he pointed. "Flat. Completely flat. No spikes corresponding to any cremation dates." Tank's voice was deadly quiet. He never cremated anyone. "No." Wire pulled up bank records. "But someone's been making deposits. Marcus Brennan's personal account. March 25th, 2022. $180,000. August 28th, 2023, $200,000. March 5th, 2024, $200,000. Rachel stared at the numbers. That's 3 weeks after each child died. Yeah, Wire's jaw was tight. And there's a scheduled wire transfer for November 13th, 5 days from now. Amount? $200,000. The shop door opened. 3 men walked in, all wearing Hell's Angels cuts. The first, massive, 6'5", built like a tank, stopped when he saw Rachel's face. Tank? Hammer. Tank stood, gestured to Rachel. This is Rachel Carter. 4 weeks ago, her 7-year-old son Liam got sick. Died 3 days later. Or so she was told. She just found out the urn she's been carrying contains cat litter. He looked at the 3 men. I think her son is alive. I think a funeral director named Marcus Brennan has been faking children's deaths and selling them. And I think we have 5 days before Liam disappears forever. The silence that followed was absolute. Then the second man, older, 60s, gray hair, wearing reading glasses, spoke. His voice was measured, calm, the voice of someone who'd seen everything. I'm Preacher, ex-FBI, 30 years. If what you're saying is true, this is federal. Kidnapping, trafficking, conspiracy, fraud. He looked at Rachel. Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions. Can you do that? Rachel nodded. Good. Preacher pulled out a small notepad, sat down across from her. Let's start with the doctor. Dr. Helen Morrison. Tell me everything she said. For the next 20 minutes, Rachel talked. Preacher took notes. Wire typed, tank paced. The third man, track, 40s, lean, sharp eyes, made phone calls. Quiet conversations in the corner. Rachel described every conversation with Dr. Morrison, every text from Marcus Brennan, every detail of Liam's last days in the hospital. Did you ever question the diagnosis? Preacher asked. Once. Rachel's voice was small. I asked if we could get a second opinion. Dr. Morrison said there wasn't time. The infection was too aggressive. She'd been practicing 30 years. She knew meningitis when she saw it. Rachel looked down. I didn't push. She was a doctor. I was just a scared mom. Preacher's expression softened. You trusted professionals. That's not weakness. That's what you're supposed to do. He made a note. What happened after you got the urn? My friend said maybe I should get the ashes tested, for DNA. Make sure they were really Liam's. I called a lab. They said $400. I had $800 in my bank account. I couldn't afford it. Rachel's voice broke. My son might have been alive, and I couldn't afford to find out. Tank stopped pacing, knelt in front of Rachel's chair. Listen to me. None of this is your fault. You did everything right. You called 911. You trusted doctors. You trusted a funeral director with a 30-year reputation. You couldn't afford a test that should never have been necessary in the first place. His voice was fierce, protective. This is on them. Not you. You hear me? Rachel nodded. Couldn't speak. Track walked over. Boss, I made some calls. Brennan's a volunteer EMT. Ashford Springs Fire Department, 15 years. Deacon at Riverside Baptist Church. Grief support group leader. He paused. Widower. Wife died of cancer in 2012. Word around town is he understands loss. Uses his experience to help others. Perfect cover, Wire muttered. Preacher looked up from his notes. I'm calling the FBI, but... He met Tank's eyes. Federal response takes time. Warrants, jurisdiction, coordination. If this kid's sale is scheduled for November 13th, we're looking at 5 days. Maybe less. Tank's phone buzzed again. He looked at it. Typed back. That's the rest of the chapter. 17 more brothers just cleared their schedules. Hammer crossed his arms. So what's the play? Tank looked at Rachel, at the broken urn on the floor. At the photo of Liam she'd placed on the counter, a 7-year-old boy with brown hair and a gap-toothed smile. Then he pulled out his phone. Dialed. It rang twice. Reaper. It's Tank. Pause. I need every brother within 100 miles at the shop, now. Pause. Just breathing on the other end. The weight of what was being asked settling. What's going on? Tank's voice was stone. Funeral director's been faking kids' deaths and selling them. We've got one alive in his basement right now. 7 years old. Been there 4 weeks. Sales in 5 days. We're not waiting for the feds to take their time on this one. Silence. Then, say no more. We're coming. The line went dead. Tank looked around the room. At his brothers. At Rachel. That was it. No questions about proof or evidence. No concerns about legal complications. Just, we're coming. Because that's what Brotherhood meant. Wire's laptop chimed. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. Boss, you need to see this. Tank walked over. Looked. Read. What is it? Rachel asked. Wire's voice was tight. Email archive. I hacked Brennan's server. 47 emails over 3 years. Him and someone named Victor Kozlov. He scrolled. Read aloud. Healthy male, age 7, no medical issues, $200,000 as discussed, pickup November 13th. Rachel's hand flew to her mouth. Wire kept reading. The boy is ready. Mother thinks he died from meningitis 3 weeks ago. She got the usual urn. He looked at Rachel. There's more. You bring the cash, I'll have the boy sedated and ready for transport. The mother has no reason to suspect anything. She's been carrying around cat litter for 2 weeks, thinking it's her son. Rachel made a sound. Not quite a scream, not quite a sob. Something broken and desperate and full of rage. Tank's hand was on her shoulder, grounding her. Wire kept scrolling. There's a recording, too. Security camera in Brennan's office. Audio from a phone call November 7th. He clicked play. Marcus Brennan's voice filled the shop. The boy is ready. 7 years old, healthy, no medical issues, perfect condition. Liam Carter. Mother thinks he died from meningitis 3 weeks ago. She got the usual urn. Pause. Someone else speaking. Can't hear it. Yes. $200,000 cash, as we discussed. Same as the last 2. You're getting a good product here. Intelligent kid, well-behaved, learns fast. The mother is poor, single, working 2 jobs. She couldn't provide for him properly anyway. He'll be better off with your buyer in Romania. Rachel was shaking. Full-body tremors. Pick up November 13th, Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Same location, funeral home loading dock. You bring the cash? I'll have the boy sedated and ready for transport. Should be smooth. The mother has no reason to suspect anything. She's been carrying around cat litter for 2 weeks thinking it's her son. Laughter on the recording. Cold. Amused. I know, right? Fresh Step Scoopable. Costs me $12.99 at Walmart. Families pay me $8,000 for funeral services. I give them $13 worth of cat litter in a brass urn. The profit margins on this operation are incredible. Way better than actual funeral work. Pause. After this one, I'm thinking 2 more, maybe 3. Then I'm done. Retire at 54, move to Sarasota, buy a boat. I've already made $800,000 from the 4 kids. 2 more gets me over $1 million. Then I disappear. Close the funeral home, tell everyone I'm retiring. Nobody will ever connect the dots. These kids just vanish into the system overseas. Untraceable. Wire stopped the recording. The silence in the tattoo shop was absolute. Rachel's voice, when it came, was barely above a whisper. 4 kids. He said 4 kids. Preacher was already on his phone, calling someone, speaking low and urgent. "This is Gerald Santos, retired FBI badge number. Yeah, I need to speak to the field office director, now. It's about child trafficking." Pause. "I don't care if it's Saturday. Get them on the phone or I'm calling DC directly." Track pulled out his own phone, started typing. "I'm running surveillance on Brennan and Son's funeral home. Thermal imaging. If the kid's in the basement, we'll see him." Hammer looked at Tank. "You want me to round up the boys?" "Already did." Tank's voice was cold, controlled fury. "They'll be here inside an hour. 180 brothers from 4 chapters. He looked at Rachel. "Ma'am, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Rachel looked at this man she'd met 20 minutes ago. This stranger with a gray beard and tattoos and a leather vest bearing a skull. This biker who'd seen cat litter and known immediately something was wrong. This protector who'd called his brothers without hesitation. She nodded. "Yes." "Good." Tank pulled her to her feet. Gently. "Because we're getting your son back. Today." By 4:30 p.m., the rumble started. Low at first, distant, like thunder rolling in from the horizon. Then it grew. A sound that made windows rattle in their frames and set off car alarms 3 blocks away. The deep, unmistakable roar of 200 Harley-Davidson engines. People on Industrial Road stopped what they were doing, stepped out of shops, stared. The motorcycles came in formation. Not a chaotic swarm, but disciplined rows. 4 abreast. Tight. Smooth. Practiced from years of riding together. Hell's Angels from Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, North Carolina. Patches from 4 chapters. 180 men who'd dropped everything. Family dinners, work shifts, weekend plans, and ridden anywhere from 15 minutes to 4 hours to get here. They parked in the overflow lot across from Tank's shop. One by one. Engines cutting off in sequence until only silence remained. Then they stood there. Leather cuts bearing the same insignia. Chrome gleaming in the late afternoon sun. Not moving, not shouting. Simply present. A woman walking her dog on the opposite sidewalk stopped, pulled out her phone, started recording. Tank stepped out of his shop, walked to the center of the lot. 180 men turned to face him. "Brothers," his voice carried. No microphone needed. 4 weeks ago, a 7-year-old boy named Liam Carter got sick. His mother called 911. An EMT named Marcus Brennan responded. Took the boy to the hospital. 3 days later, the hospital said Liam died. Bacterial meningitis. Mother never saw the body. Infection risk, they said. Immediate cremation required. 2 weeks ago, the mother received an urn. Today... Tank held up his phone, showed them a photo. Today, she found out that urn contains fresh step cat litter from Walmart. Absolute silence. Liam Carter is alive, right now, in the basement of Brennan and Son's funeral home at 1624 Chapel Street. We have thermal imaging confirmation. We have email evidence of a $200,000 sale scheduled for Wednesday night. We have a recorded phone conversation where Marcus Brennan admits to trafficking 4 children over 3 years for $800,000 total. Tank's voice was stone. FBI is coordinating, but federal response takes time. We have 5 days before this boy disappears into an international trafficking network. Maybe less. Tank looked around the lot. Met eyes. This is what we do. This is why we exist. Not to raise hell, not to cause chaos, to protect children when the system fails, to stand between predators and innocents, to be the wall that doesn't break. He pulled out a piece of paper, unfolded it. Track ran surveillance. Thermal imaging shows one heat signature in the basement, child-sized, no movement for the last 40 minutes, either sedated or... His jaw tightened. We're getting him out, today, legally, by the book, with evidence so airtight that Marcus Brennan dies in prison. He looked at Preacher. FBI? Preacher stepped forward. Field office is sending agents. ETA 90 minutes. They're coordinating with local PD. Emergency warrant is being processed. But, he looked at the assembled brothers. They asked us not to approach the funeral home until they arrive. The silence that followed was heavy. Tank's voice cut through it. And we're not going to. We're not vigilantes. We're investigators, evidence gatherers, witnesses. He pointed to Wire. Wire, you're coordinating digital forensics. Every email, every bank record, every piece of documentation gets preserved and handed to FBI. He pointed to Track. Track, maintain thermal surveillance. I want to know if that heat signature moves, if anyone enters or exits that building. He pointed to Hammer. Hammer, you're running door to door. Every neighbor within 3 blocks of that funeral home. Ask if they've seen anything unusual, heard anything, noticed anything. Get statements, get names, get signatures. Now, I know what you might be imagining. 200 Hell's Angels, a trafficked child, and rage that's been building for the last 2 hours. You're probably thinking this ends with broken doors and violence and chaos. But that's not how this works. Because Tank Morrison learned something 18 years ago when the doctors told him his daughter had 3 months to live. Rage feels powerful, but evidence wins trials. Strategy saves lives. And discipline, real controlled military discipline, that's what separates protectors from vigilantes. So while neighbors recorded on their phones, expecting a confrontation, what they got instead was something much more terrifying to a predator. Organized investigation. Systematic evidence gathering. Brothers who knew exactly how to work within the law to destroy someone who'd spent years hiding behind it. Hammer took 15 brothers, split them into teams of 2, gave each team a clipboard, a pen, and 3 blocks of addresses. You knock. You introduce yourself. You say, we're investigating concerns about Brennan and Son's funeral home. Have you noticed anything unusual? Heard anything? Seen anything that didn't seem right? You take notes. You get names. You get phone numbers. You thank them. You move to the next house. Hammer looked at his teams. Any woman gives you trouble, you apologize and walk away. We're not here to intimidate. We're here to collect truth. Understood? 15 men nodded. Go. They dispersed, leather cuts and boots and tattoos knocking on doors in a quiet Virginia neighborhood on a Saturday afternoon. The first witness came from 1620 Chapel Street, 4 houses down from the funeral home. Janet Foster, 48, principal at Ashford Springs Elementary School, the school Liam had attended. She opened her door to find 2 Hell's Angels standing on her porch. Her hand went to her throat. Ma'am? The first biker, name patch reading Chains, held up his clipboard. We're investigating Brennan and Son's funeral home. Do you have a moment? Janet's eyes darted between them. What kind of investigation? Child welfare concerns. We're collecting witness statements. Anything you might have seen or heard regarding the funeral home's operations." Janet's face went pale. "Why?" "Ma'am, have you noticed anything unusual?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Come inside." 10 minutes later, Chains walked back to Tank's shop. Janet Foster followed, her hands shaking. Tank met her at the door, guided her to a chair. "Ms. Foster? I'm the principal at Ashford Springs Elementary." Her voice was tight. "Liam Carter was withdrawn from our school October 17th. Reason listed: deceased." She looked at Tank. "School policy requires a death certificate for deceased students. Marcus Brennan provided a copy, signed by Dr. Helen Morrison. Looked legitimate. I sent a condolence card to Mrs. Carter. Filed Liam's records. Gave his seat to a new student." "Did anything seem wrong?" Preacher asked gently. Janet's hands twisted in her lap. "Yes." The word came out broken. "Liam was healthy. Bright. Happy. 1 week he was in class learning fractions. The next week he was dead? From an illness that came on suddenly, She stopped. Breathed. "I should have called Rachel. Should have verified. But I had a death certificate. Official documentation. I processed paperwork and moved on." Her voice cracked. "I didn't even ask if she needed anything. Didn't check on her. Just filed him away like he'd never existed." She looked at Tank. "If that boy is alive, if he's been suffering while I did nothing..." Tank's voice was gentle. "You had official documentation from a licensed funeral director and a physician with 30 years' experience. You had no reason to question it." "I had every reason." Janet's voice was fierce now, self-recrimination and fury mixing. "A 7-year-old doesn't just die overnight. Not without investigation. Not without questions. I should have made those calls. Should have pushed back. Should have cared enough to be suspicious." She met Preacher's eyes. "I want to give a statement. Official, on record. Whatever you need." Preacher handed her his notepad. "Write down everything. Timeline. Who you spoke to. What documents you saw. Sign and date it." Janet took the pen. Started writing. The second witness came from 1630 Chapel Street. 2 houses away from the funeral home. Dennis Crawford, 41. Police officer with Ashford Springs PD. 12 years on the force. He'd been working on his truck in the driveway when 2 brothers approached. Stood when he saw them. Hand instinctively going to his hip, where his service weapon would be if he were on duty. "Officer Crawford?" The biker, name patch Wrench, stopped at a respectful distance. "We're conducting a welfare investigation regarding Brennan and Sons Funeral Home. May we ask you a few questions?" Crawford's eyes narrowed. "What kind of investigation?" "Child welfare. We're collecting witness statements from neighbors." Crawford looked at the funeral home, back at the bikers. "What's Brennan done?" "We're not at liberty to say yet, but we'd appreciate your cooperation." Crawford was silent for 10 seconds. Then, 2 weeks ago, I did a wellness check. 1847 Riverside Avenue, apartment 2B. Woman named Rachel Carter. Friend called in concerned about her mental state. I knocked. She answered. Looked like hell. Could barely stand. Apartment was dark. Dishes piled in the sink. I asked if she was okay. She said... He stopped. Closed his eyes. My son died. I can't do this. His jaw tightened. There was an urn on the table. Brass. Engraved with a child's name. I saw it. Noted it in my report. Death certificate had been filed 3 days prior. Funeral home was Brennan and Sons. Legitimate business. 30-year reputation. I had no reason to suspect. He opened his eyes. I asked if there was anyone I could call. Family? Friends? She said no family. Just her. I gave her a list of grief counseling resources. Filed my report. Wellness check. Widow grieving child's death. No immediate danger. Crawford's voice went quiet. I didn't investigate. Didn't question. Didn't look deeper. Because I saw official documentation, and I took it at face value. He looked at Wrench. Is that kid alive? We believe so. Crawford's face went through several expressions. Shock. Horror. Shame. Then I failed him. 3rd time I've failed a child in this town. 3rd time. He pulled out his own phone. Called someone. Captain, it's Crawford. I need to come in. Official statement regarding a case. Pause. Child trafficking. Brennan and Sons Funeral Home. Hell's Angels are conducting an investigation, and they're right. Another pause. I know how it sounds. I'm telling you they're right. And I'm the officer who did the wellness check on the mother and missed it. He hung up, looked at Wrench. I want to help. Whatever you need. The 3rd witness came from inside Riverside Hospital. Dr. Mitchell Crawford, no relation to Officer Crawford, 34 years old, attending physician. 7 years at Riverside. Track had made a call. Brother who worked hospital maintenance knew a doctor who'd been asking questions about Liam Carter's case 3 weeks ago. Questions that got shut down. Dr. Crawford arrived at Tank's shop at 5:15 p.m. Still in scrubs. Eyes exhausted. Tank offered him coffee. He took it. Dr. Morrison called me in for a consult 3 weeks ago, he said without preamble. 7-year-old boy. Liam Carter. She'd diagnosed bacterial meningitis, aggressive strain. Started treatment immediately. He sipped coffee. Something didn't sit right. The symptoms didn't quite match, fever and vomiting, yes. But the progression seemed off. The cultures came back negative. No bacterial growth. I questioned it. What did Dr. Morrison say? Preacher asked. She said she'd been practicing 30 years. She knew meningitis when she saw it, that cultures could give false negatives with aggressive strains, that my concern was noted but unnecessary. Dr. Crawford's hands tightened on his cup. I was junior. She was senior. Impeccable record. Respected? I deferred. His voice dropped. 3 days later, the boy was dead. Or so the chart said. I never saw the body. Dr. Morrison handled everything. Signed the death certificate herself. Cited infection risk for immediate cremation. Filed with the state within hours. He looked at Tank. If I'd pushed back, if I'd demanded a second opinion, if I'd trusted my instincts instead of her credentials, would that boy have spent the last 4 weeks free instead of imprisoned? Tank's voice was steady. You questioned. That's more than most people did. The system is designed to trust senior physicians. You worked within that system. The system is broken. Dr. Crawford set down his coffee. And I'm done being complicit. What do you need from me? Wire's laptop chimed. He looked up. Boss, I found something. Tank walked over. What? Previous victim, Sophia Martinez, 5 years old. Died March 2022 from sudden pneumonia. Same pattern. Dr. Morrison signed death certificate. Brennan handled cremation. Mother, Elena Martinez, got an urn 2 weeks later. Wire pulled up a file. But Elena didn't believe it. She kept pushing. Filed missing person report. Police dismissed it. Death certificate was legitimate. Case went cold. He clicked to another screen. September 2024. Interpol raids Romanian adoption ring. Find 14 children. Sofia Martinez was one of them. She'd been living with a couple in Bucharest for 2.5 years. They'd adopted her through a black market broker, paid $180,000 cash. Wire looked at Tank. That deposit in Brennan's account, March 25th, 2022? $180,000, 1 week after Sophia died. Rachel, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, made a sound. That little girl is alive? Yeah. Wire pulled up a photo. 5-year-old girl. Brown eyes. Renamed Elena by her buyers. She's back in the U.S. now. Foster care. Doesn't remember her birth family. Traumatized by the rescue, thinks the people who took her from Romania were kidnappers trying to steal her from her real parents. Rachel covered her mouth. Tank's phone rang. He answered. Yeah? Pause. You're sure? Longer pause. We'll wait. But if that heat signature moves, I'm not asking permission. He hung up. Looked at Preacher. FBI, 20 minutes out. They're bringing local PD, emergency warrant, and a tactical team. Preacher nodded. Good. Track jogged over from across the street. Boss, movement. The heat signature in the basement just shifted position. Small movement. Like someone rolling over. Tank's voice was sharp. Alive? Alive. At 5:47 p.m., 3 black SUVs pulled up to Tank's tattoo and custom art. FBI Special Agent Sarah Chen stepped out. 42. 20 years with the Bureau, Crimes Against Children Division. She walked straight to Tank. You Tank Morrison? Yes, ma'am. You're the one who called this in? My brother Preacher did. Retired FBI. Badge number he gave you checks out. Chen nodded. It does. Gerald Santos. Good agent. I worked with him on a case in 09. She looked around at the assembled bikers. Nearly 200 men standing quiet. Disciplined. Waiting. This is impressive, but I need you to stand down. We'll handle it from here. Tank held up Wire's laptop. We have evidence. Bank records showing $800,000 in deposits matching 4 children's deaths. Email correspondence with international buyer. Recorded phone conversation of Brennan admitting to trafficking. Thermal imaging confirming child in basement right now. 3 witness statements from school principal, police officer, and hospital physician, all documenting system failures. He met her eyes. We've done your job for you. All you have to do is make the arrest. Chen took the laptop, scrolled, read. Her expression darkened. This is comprehensive. We had 180 investigators working for 2 hours, Preacher said quietly. Former cops, former military, former federal agents. We know how to build a case. Chen looked at him. Recognition flickered. Santos? Hey, Chen. You vouching for all this? Every word. That evidence is solid, admissible, chain of custody documented. He handed her a flash drive. Everything's on here. Time-stamped. Witness statements signed and notarized. Had a brother who's a notary public do it on site. Chen plugged the drive into her phone. Pulled up files. Read for 3 minutes. Then she looked at Tank. We're raiding the funeral home, now. I want your people to stay here. If things go sideways, I don't want civilian casualties. Understood. Tank's voice was calm. We'll wait. Chen radioed her team. All units were green. Target is Brennan and Sons Funeral Home, 1624 Chapel Street. Warrant is active. Suspect is Marcus Allen Brennan, 52, white male. We have probable cause for child trafficking and kidnapping. Victim is confirmed in basement via thermal imaging. This is a rescue operation. Rules of engagement. Secure the child first, suspect second. She looked at Tank one more time. If that boy is in there and alive, you saved his life today. Just get him out. At 6:03 p.m., the FBI tactical team breached Brennan and Sons' funeral home. They found Marcus Brennan in the embalming room, washing his hands, humming. He looked up when the door burst open. Agents in tactical gear flooding in, weapons drawn, voices loud and commanding. He blinked, confused, annoyed, like a man interrupted during a normal day. Marcus Allen Brennan? Agent Chen's voice was steel. Yes? What is this about? You're under arrest for kidnapping, child trafficking, conspiracy, fraud, and forgery. She nodded to two agents. Cuff him. Brennan's face went from confusion to shock to calculation in 3 seconds. There must be some mistake. I'm a funeral director. I don't know what you're talking about. Save it. Chen held up a printout. The email to Victor Kozlov. The boy is ready. 7 years old, healthy, no medical issues. Perfect condition. She met his eyes. We have everything. Emails, bank records, recorded phone calls, 4 children over 3 years, $800,000. It's over. Brennan's face went pale. 2 agents cuffed him, pushed him against the wall, read him his rights right there in the embalming room. The same hands that had prepared hundreds of bodies for burial. The same hands that had drugged children and sold them like products. Meanwhile, 4 agents moved to the basement, found the false wall in the back of the embalming room. Hidden hinge mechanism. Steel door behind it. They called for a battering ram. 2 hits and the door burst open. Inside, a child, 7 years old, brown hair, gap-toothed, wearing blue pajamas with rocket ships, the same pajamas he'd been wearing 4 weeks ago when he got sick. Liam Carter looked up at the agents, thin, pale, scared. Please don't hurt me, he whispered. The lead agent, a woman named Torres, mother of 3, knelt slowly, holstered her weapon, held up empty hands. Liam? Liam Carter? The boy nodded. Your mom is looking for you. She's been looking for you every single day. She never stopped. Torres smiled, gentle, reassuring. We're here to take you home. Is that okay? Liam stared at her, processing. Mommy wants me? She wants you more than anything in the world. Liam started crying. The man said she didn't. He said she was glad I was gone. He said, he lied. Torres moved closer. Slowly. Your mom loves you so much. She's waiting for you right now. Can I carry you out of here? Liam nodded. Torres picked him up. He weighed almost nothing. 50 pounds at most. Should have been 58. She carried him up the basement stairs, through the embalming room, past Marcus Brennan in handcuffs, face down on the floor, shouting about lawyers and mistakes and misunderstandings. Out into the late afternoon sun. Across the street, Rachel Carter stood with Tank and 180 Hell's Angels. She saw her son, screamed his name, ran. Torres set Liam down gently. Rachel dropped to her knees, grabbed Liam, held him, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. Mommy? Yes, baby. Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I never left. I love you. I love you. I'm so sorry. The man said you didn't want me. He lied. Rachel pulled back, looked at her son's face, thin, pale, bruised wrists from restraints, but alive. breathing, real. I wanted you every second, every second. I carried what I thought was you for 2 weeks. I was going to tattoo your face over my heart. I never stopped loving you, not for 1 second. Liam buried his face in her shoulder. And across the street, 180 bikers stood in absolute silence, some of them crying, most of them trying not to. Tank Morrison, who'd lost his own daughter 18 years ago, who'd spent nearly 2 decades doing memorial tattoos to honor her memory, who'd accidentally knocked over an urn and recognized cat litter, watched a mother hold her living son, and thought, this is why Melissa died. So I'd be here, this moment, this child. This is what all that grief was for. Marcus Brennan was loaded into a police car at 6:23 p.m. Charges read aloud for the recording. Kidnapping in the first degree, 4 counts. Child trafficking, 4 counts. Conspiracy to commit human trafficking. Fraud, multiple counts. Forgery of official documents. Grand theft. The list went on. Bail recommendation. High enough that a man who'd stolen $800,000 and had nothing to show for it wouldn't be making it anytime soon. Dr. Helen Morrison was arrested at her home 90 minutes later, found in her kitchen making dinner, wearing an apron that said, "World's Best Doctor." She'd provided 4 fake death certificates, received $15,000 per certificate. Total, $60,000 to fund her gambling addiction. Charges: conspiracy to traffic children, 4 counts. Medical fraud, 4 counts. Evidence tampering. Accessory to kidnapping. Sentencing recommendation: 25 years federal prison. Medical license revoked permanently. Carl Jensen, funeral home assistant who'd guarded the basement and prevented Liam's escape attempts, was arrested at his apartment. Found watching television, eating pizza. He'd been paid $5,000 per child, 4 children, $20,000 total. Charges: conspiracy to traffic children, 4 counts. Kidnapping, child endangerment. Sentencing recommendation: 18 years federal prison. Viktor Kozlov, Russian adoption broker who'd purchased all 4 children, was arrested at Richmond International Airport at 11 p.m., arriving for Liam's scheduled pickup, carrying a briefcase containing $200,000 cash. FBI and Interpol coordination. Weapons drawn. No resistance. He flipped within 48 hours. Testified against the entire network in exchange for reduced sentence, revealed locations of all 14 children he'd trafficked over 5 years. Charges: international child trafficking, 14 counts. Conspiracy, money laundering. Sentencing, 35 years federal prison, down from life sentence due to cooperation. The room in Tank's shop went quiet at 7 p.m. Rachel sat with Liam in her lap. He hadn't let go of her for an hour. Doc, retired paramedic, 58, had checked him over. Dehydration, malnutrition, bruises, trauma, but physically stable. Tank looked around at his brothers. 23 men still in the shop. The rest had dispersed to homes, families, lives. All in favor of making this permanent? His voice was quiet. The room went silent, just the ticking of the clock on the wall and the distant sound of traffic outside. 23 hands went up. Not a moment's hesitation. Not a single dissenting voice. Angel's Watch program is official, Tank said. Any Tanli child welfare case in our territory gets the same treatment. Evidence gathering, witness statements, federal coordination, by the book, legal, airtight. He looked at Rachel. "And any family that needs protection gets it. Full stop." Rachel looked up, tears streaming. "Thank you." "Don't thank us," Tank said quietly. "Just pay attention. When you see something wrong, when a child seems scared, when a parent seems desperate. Pay attention. Ask questions. Care enough to be suspicious. That's all we did today. We paid attention." 3 hours after Liam Carter was carried out of that basement, he sat in Riverside Hospital's pediatric wing wearing clean clothes, a Hells Angels t-shirt 3 sizes too big, donated by Wrench, and sweatpants from the hospital gift shop. Rachel hadn't let go of his hand since the ambulance ride. Doc sat across from them, reading the medical assessment. Dehydration, malnutrition, he's lost 8 pounds in 4 weeks. Vitamin D deficiency from no sunlight, some bruising on his wrists from restraints. He looked at Rachel. Physically, he'll recover. Good food, clean water, sunshine. His body will heal. He paused. Psychologically, that's going to take longer. He's going to need therapy. Someone who specializes in trauma. Someone who understands what it means to be told your mother abandoned you for 4 weeks straight. Rachel's voice was fierce. "Whatever he needs. I don't care what it costs." "Already handled." Tank leaned against the doorframe, holding a folder. Angel's Watch program covers it. We've got a trauma therapist on retainer. Dr. Sarah Vance. Works with kids who've been through hell. She'll start sessions next week, twice weekly. No charge to you. Rachel stared. "I can't. You can't." "We can. We did." Tank opened the folder. "We've also got housing arranged. Your landlord at Riverside Avenue." He made a face. "Let's just say that building's not safe for a kid who's been through trauma. Preacher made some calls. Brother named Marcus, different Marcus, owns a property management company, has a 2-bedroom house on Oak Street. Quiet neighborhood, fenced yard, walking distance to Liam's school." He handed her a key. "First 3 months rent-free. After that, $600 monthly. That's half market rate." "I can't afford." "You can." Wire walked in, laptop under his arm. "I did some digging. You're working 2 jobs, right? Diner waitress and overnight grocery stocker?" Rachel nodded. "The diner's owned by Jim Patterson. Let's say he owes us a favor. You're getting promoted to day shift manager. $18 an hour instead of $9. Health insurance included. You can drop the overnight job. Be home with Liam." Wire smiled slightly. Jim's also the one who taught his employees to turn away when a kid on crutches needs help. He's suddenly very interested in redemption. Rachel's hands were shaking. "Why are you doing this?" Tank's voice was quiet. "Because we can. Because you need it. Because Liam needs it." He looked at the boy curled against his mother's side, still wearing those rocket ship pajamas from 4 weeks ago, still too thin, still scared. And because if we don't take care of our own, what's the point of any of this? Hammer appeared in the doorway, holding a stuffed animal. A lion. Soft. Well-loved. "Hey, Liam. This was my daughter's. She's 16 now. Doesn't need it anymore. Thought maybe you could take care of it for a while." He set it gently on the bed. Lions are protectors. They watch over their pride. Keep everyone safe. Liam reached for it slowly, pulled it close. "Thank you," he whispered. Hammer's voice was rough. "You're welcome, buddy." Preacher walked in at 8 p.m., carrying paperwork. "Emergency custody order signed by Judge Morrison. No relation to the doctor. Rachel, you have full legal custody. Restraining order filed against Marcus Brennan, effective immediately. He's not allowed within 500 feet of you or Liam. Ever. He set the papers on the table. Trial's scheduled for 3 months from now. You'll need to testify. So will Liam, if he's able. Victim advocate will be assigned to both of you tomorrow. Her name's Jennifer Walsh. She's good. She'll walk you through everything. Rachel took the papers. Read them. Official court stamps. Signatures. Legal protection in black ink. And official seals. "What's going to happen to him?" she asked quietly. "To Brennan?" "He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison," Preacher said flatly. "Kidnapping, trafficking, conspiracy, federal charges. He's looking at life without parole. Dr. Morrison's looking at 25 years. Carl Jensen, 18. Victor Kozlov, 35. He met her eyes. "They will never hurt another child. I promise you that." Track knocked on the doorframe at 8:30. "Boss, you're gonna want to see this." Tank stepped into the hallway. "What?" "Sofia Martinez's mother, Elena. She's outside. Wants to talk to Rachel." Tank looked back at Rachel through the doorway. "You up for this?" Rachel nodded. Elena Martinez walked in 5 minutes later, 42 years old. Eyes that had cried for 2.5 years. She saw Rachel holding Liam and stopped. "My daughter," she said quietly. "Sophia. She's 5 now, almost 6. I got her back 2 months ago. Interpol found her in Romania. She'd been there since she was 3. Her voice broke. "She doesn't remember me. Calls me the nice lady. Thinks her kidnappers, the people who bought her, are her real parents. Thinks I stole her from them." Rachel's hand tightened on Liam's. "I pushed," Elena continued, "when they gave me the urn, when they said she died from pneumonia. I knew something was wrong. I filed missing person reports, called police every week. They told me I was in denial. Grief makes people irrational, they said. My daughter had a death certificate. A legitimate funeral director had handled her cremation. I needed to accept reality and move on." She looked at Liam. "But I didn't. I kept pushing, kept calling, made myself such a nuisance that the police started ignoring my calls. And then 2 years later, Interpol calls and says they found my daughter in another country, living with strangers, speaking Romanian, not remembering her own name." Elena's voice was fierce now. "You got him back in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I'm so glad, so grateful, but I also—" She stopped. Breathed. "I'm angry that I had to wait 2 years. That the system failed me. That if I'd just been more suspicious, pushed harder, made more noise—" "Stop!" Rachel's voice cut through. "You did everything right. You pushed. You called. You made noise. They ignored you. That's not your failure. That's theirs." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "How is she?" Rachel asked quietly. "Sophia?" "Healing. Slowly. Therapy twice a week. She's starting to understand that I'm her mother, that the people in Romania weren't her parents, that what happened to her was wrong." Elena smiled slightly. It didn't reach her eyes. "Last week she called me Mama for the first time since I got her back. Just once. Then she corrected herself back to the nice lady. But it was once. That's progress." Rachel reached out, took Elena's hand. "We're going to make sure no one else goes through this, right?" She looked at Tank. Tank nodded. "Right." At 9 p.m., Dr. Vance, the trauma therapist, stopped by. 48 years old. Kind eyes. Gentle voice. She didn't push. Didn't force. Just introduced herself to Liam, told him she helped kids who'd been scared, and left her card. "When you're ready," she said to Rachel. "No rush. But the sooner we start processing this, the better. Trauma has a way of settling into bones if you don't address it." "Monday?" Rachel asked. "Monday works." At 10 p.m., the hospital released Liam to Rachel's care. Instructions: good food, clean water, lots of rest. Follow-up appointment in 1 week. Tank drove them to the house on Oak Street. 2-bedroom, small but clean. Furniture already inside, donated by brothers and their families. Couch, table, beds. Liam's room had a nightlight already plugged in. Rachel stood in the living room holding her son, looking around at this space that wasn't hers, but was being given anyway. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Tank handed her the key. "Don't thank us. Just take care of him. Love him. Help him heal. That's all the thanks we need." Wire had left a laptop on the kitchen table. Post-it note stuck to it. For online schooling until Liam's ready to go back in person. Password is Liam2024. Wi-Fi already set up. Hammer had left groceries in the fridge. Real food, fresh fruit, milk, bread, sandwich supplies. A note: "Eat, both of you." Track had left his card. "If you need anything, and I mean anything, call. Day or night. Someone will answer." Doc had left a first aid kit. Medical supplies. Phone number of a pediatrician who'd agreed to see Liam pro bono for the first 6 months. Preacher had left legal documents. Everything organized, tabbed, explained in simple language, and his own card. "Trial prep starts in 2 weeks. I'll be with you every step." That night, Rachel put Liam to bed in his new room, tucked him in. The lion stuffed animal clutched tight in his arms. "Mommy?" "Yeah, baby." "Are you going to leave?" Rachel's heart broke. "Never. I'm never leaving you. Not ever. You understand me?" The man lied about everything. "I love you. I wanted you every single second. I would have torn this town apart to find you if I'd known you were alive. And now that I have you back, I'm never letting go." She kissed his forehead. "You're stuck with me, kid. Forever." Liam smiled. Small, fragile, but real. "Okay." Rachel sat beside his bed until he fell asleep. Then she walked to the living room, sat on the donated couch, and for the first time in 4 weeks, she didn't cry. She looked at the broken pieces of the brass urn sitting on the coffee table. Tank had collected them from the tattoo shop floor, put them in a box. Evidence. Proof. The moment everything changed, she picked up a shard, ran her finger over the engraving. "Called home October 17th, 2024. Not called home. Called to hell. To a basement. To 4 weeks of psychological torture. But found. Rescued. Home for real, now." Rachel set the shard down, pulled out her phone, opened her photos. Found the picture of Liam she'd been carrying for 3 weeks, the school photo with his gap-toothed smile. She took a new photo. Liam asleep in his new bed. Lion clutched tight. Safe. Breathing. Alive. She saved it with a caption. "Day 1 of the rest of our lives." 6 months later. The brass urn pieces sat in a shadow box on Rachel's wall. Museum display style. Beside them, a photo of that terrible Saturday afternoon. The cat litter scattered across Tank's tattoo shop floor. The broken urn. The moment hope returned. Underneath, a plaque. "The day we found out." Rachel stood in that same tattoo shop on a Wednesday afternoon in May. Liam beside her. 8 years old now, still thin but gaining weight. Still in therapy twice a week, but smiling more. Still wearing his lion backpack to school every day. Gift from Hammer's daughter. Tank sat at his station, sketch in hand. "You sure about this?" he asked Rachel. "I'm sure. It's going to hurt." "Good. I want to feel something real." Tank nodded, transferred the stencil to Rachel's chest. Left side, over her heart. The design, Liam's face, not from the funeral photo, from last week, smiling, alive, eyes bright, gap-toothed grin. Below the portrait, text in elegant script, alive, home, forever. Rachel lay back in the chair. Liam sat beside her, holding her hand. Tank started the machine. The buzz filled the shop. Needle to skin. Rachel closed her eyes, felt the pain, felt the ink, felt her son's hand in hers. This was the tattoo she'd come for 6 months ago. Memorial ink. Remembrance of a child she thought she'd lost. But this was different. This was celebration. Proof. Evidence that sometimes the impossible happens. That sometimes broken things get found. That sometimes mothers carrying cat litter discover the truth, and sons imprisoned in basements get rescued, and funeral directors who traffic children end up in prison where they belong. 2 hours later, Tank wiped the excess ink away, showed Rachel the mirror. She looked at her reflection, at her son's face permanently etched over her heart, at the words, "Alive, home, forever." "Perfect," she whispered. The trial had lasted 3 days. Jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus Brennan. Life in prison. No parole eligibility. Ever. Dr. Helen Morrison. 25 years federal prison. Medical license revoked permanently. Carl Jensen. 18 years federal prison. Victor Kozlov. 35 years federal prison. But his testimony had helped recover 12 of the 14 children he'd trafficked. 12 families reunited. 12 children home. Not Sofia Martinez's age when taken, but 12 other children who might have spent their entire lives not knowing their real names. Angel's Watch became permanent. 3 other school districts in Virginia studied the model, implemented similar programs, trained staff to recognize signs, empowered teachers to question, created systems where suspicious deaths triggered immediate investigation rather than rubber-stamped acceptance. Ashford Springs Elementary, Principal Janet Foster's school, implemented mandatory second opinion requirements for any student withdrawal due to health reasons. Any sudden illness resulting in death now required verification from 2 independent physicians, a visit from school administration to the family, and a formal review by the district superintendent. Riverside Hospital, Dr. Mitchell Crawford's hospital, created a peer review system where junior physicians could flag concerns about senior doctors' diagnoses without fear of retaliation. Anonymous reporting. Mandatory investigation. No more, "I'm senior, I know better, shut up and defer." Virginia Department of Health updated death certificate processing. Any child under 18 who died suddenly now triggered automatic review. Medical examiner consult. Social services wellness check. No more filing and forgetting. Ashford Springs Police Department, Officer Dennis Crawford's department, received training on trauma-informed responses, signs of trafficking, and how to investigate beyond official documentation. Dennis Crawford himself became the department's child welfare specialist. 3rd time wasn't a failure after all. It was the turning point. Brennan and Sons Funeral Home was seized by the state, converted into a community center. The basement where Liam had been held was filled in, sealed, memorial garden planted on top. The building reopened as Liam's house, a safe space for children in crisis. Therapy rooms, play areas, trained counselors, open 24 hours, free to anyone who needed it. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The place where children had been imprisoned was now the place where children found freedom. Rachel's promotion to day shift manager at the diner came with an unexpected benefit. She started a program where the restaurant partnered with local schools to provide free meals to kids who asked. No questions, no paperwork, just food. First month, 17 children quietly asked for help. 17 children who'd been hungry, invisible, overlooked. Not anymore. Hell's Angels. Virginia. Chapter expanded. Angels watch to 4 neighboring states. Bullying reports at schools where the program was active dropped by 78%. Child welfare investigations increased by 212%. Not because more abuse was happening, but because more people were paying attention and reporting. 43 children removed from dangerous situations in 6 months. 43 children who might have become statistics, who might have disappeared into basements or trafficking networks or graves. 43 families given second chances. Liam made honor roll every semester after returning to school. Joined the chess club, made friends, started smiling without flinching first. Still had nightmares. Still went to therapy. Still asked sometimes if his mom was really going to stay. But healing doesn't work in straight lines. It works in spirals. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps sideways, then a leap. Liam was leaping more often now. But this story isn't really about bikers or patches or motorcycles. It's not even really about Marcus Brennan or Dr. Helen Morrison or Victor Kozlov, though they're currently sitting in federal prison cells wondering how their foolproof system fell apart because one biker recognized cat litter. This story is about what happens when people pay attention. When a tattoo artist knows what cremated remains should feel like and trusts his instincts enough to say, "This is wrong." When brothers drop everything, family dinners, work shifts, weekend plans, and ride 4 hours because a child needs help. When a school principal admits, "I should have called, I should have verified, I should have cared enough to question." When a police officer admits, "I failed," and then spends the next 6 months making sure he never fails again. When a doctor admits, "I deferred to credentials instead of trusting my training," and then builds a system where junior physicians can challenge senior ones without fear. This is about seeing something wrong and refusing to look away. There are Rachels everywhere. Mothers carrying urns filled with lies. Fathers being told their children ran away when they were actually taken. Grandparents accepting death certificates from people who profit from grief. There are Liams everywhere. Children locked in basements and attics and closets. Children told, "Your family doesn't want you." Children waiting for someone, anyone, to notice they're missing. And there are Marcus Brennans everywhere, too. Predators wearing professional credentials. Monsters who look like deacons and doctors and volunteers. People who've learned exactly how to exploit trust and grief, and a system designed to believe official documentation. But here's what I need you to understand. You don't need a Hell's Angels vest to be a protector. You don't need a motorcycle or tattoos or a leather cut. You just need to pay attention. When a child seems scared of someone they should trust, pay attention. When a death seems too sudden, too convenient, too clean, ask questions. When someone tells you, "Don't worry, I've got this handled, you can trust me," verify anyway. When official paperwork looks legitimate, but something in your gut says it's wrong, trust your gut. Because Rachel's son is alive today for one reason. A biker accidentally knocked over an urn and recognized the texture of fresh step cat litter. That's it. That's what saved a child's life. Not sophisticated investigation, not federal resources, not legal expertise, just, I know what this feels like, and this feels wrong. So I'm asking you to do something. Pay attention. To the child who flinches when an adult approaches. To the parent who seems too eager to explain away bruises. To the neighbor who hasn't been seen in weeks. To the official story that's just a little too perfect. Pay attention. Ask questions. Care enough to be suspicious. Trust your instincts. And when you see something wrong, when that voice in your head says, "This isn't right," do something about it. Call someone. Report it. Make noise. Refuse to be quiet. Refuse to be convenient. Refuse to accept, "I'm a professional, trust me," when your gut says otherwise. You don't need credentials to recognize evil. You don't need a badge to fight for justice. You just need the courage to question what you're told, to trust your instincts when something feels wrong, and to act when everyone else looks away. Because somewhere right now there's a child in a basement, a parent carrying an urn filled with cat litter, a predator counting on everyone to believe official documentation and not ask uncomfortable questions. And all it takes is one person who pays attention. One person who says, "This feels wrong." One person who acts. Be that person. If this story moved you, subscribe Valiant Bikers and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below with the name of someone who protected you when you needed it most, or what you wish someone had done differently. Tell me you stand with Rachel. Tell me you stand with Liam. Tell me you'll pay attention, because the next child who needs saving might be invisible to everyone else. But they won't be invisible to you. Not anymore. Rachel stood in her living room 6 months after the worst and best day of her life. Liam asleep in his room. Lion clutched tight, nightlight glowing. She looked at the shadow box on her wall, the broken brass urn. The moment everything changed. And she thought about Marcus Brennan sitting in a prison cell, about Dr. Helen Morrison stripped of her medical license, about Viktor Kozlov separated from the children he'd trafficked, about Carl Jensen realizing he'd spend the next 18 years behind bars. She thought about Tank Morrison, who'd lost his daughter 18 years ago and spent every day since honoring her memory by protecting other people's children. She thought about 180 Hell's Angels who'd dropped everything to save a boy they'd never met. She thought about Sophia Martinez, finally calling her mother Mama after 2.5 years. She thought about 43 other children pulled from dangerous situations because someone paid attention. And she whispered into the quiet house, "Thank you," to Tank, to his brothers, to the system that finally worked, to the God who'd put her in that tattoo shop on that specific Saturday, to the accident that broke an urn and revealed the truth, to everyone who'd refused to look away. In the bedroom, Liam stirred, mumbled in his sleep. Not a nightmare this time, just a dream. Rachel walked to his doorway, watched him breathe, watched him be alive. She touched the fresh tattoo over her heart. still healing, still tender, alive, home, forever. Not the ending she'd expected 6 months ago, but the ending she'd fight every day to protect. Because that's what love does. It pays attention, it asks questions, it refuses to accept convenient lies. It breaks urns and recognizes cat litter, and calls brothers and builds cases and tears down systems that fail children. It doesn't stop, doesn't quit, doesn't look away. And sometimes, just sometimes, it brings children home.